Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today I'm noticing just a lot of sadness coming up, a lot of fear about being so in love, fear about having such strong feelings towards somebody, and like the fear of like, oh, what if those aren't met? And the sadness, it feels like a mourning, like there's a mourning taking place. Retreat was very powerful. It ended this morning, and I just felt like a lot of death, a lot of seeing these older aspects of myself, these wounded parts, the parts that try to control, the parts that hold back, the parts that withhold, the parts that guard and control, like I said, control. The parts that want to manipulate others to get what they want. The parts that when others are unsure and in doubt, the parts that go into avoidance behaviors, that cut off from life, that shut down. And I got to feel really how painful that is, and how I don't want to live like that anymore. I don't want to manipulate others from a wounded place just in an effort to control them and get what I need from them to feel safe and loved. And I don't want to shut down when I open my heart to somebody and maybe they're feeling doubt and uncertainty. Over the course of retreat, my twin flame and I were brought back together in this very powerful way. And it just so happens we're both in the same Sangha, and that's just how the divine designed it. Like the divine, or you could say our higher selves, were like, we're gonna make sure we meet in this life. Like we're gonna leave that up to, like there's gonna be no doubt about that, because we have a lot of work to do together. And you'll notice that with some people, it's just there's a lot of aliveness, there's lots of energy, there's lots of polarity, there's lots of getting triggered and triggering the other, there's lots of pain and light and insane amounts of love and bliss, and it's highs and lows. It's like, these are people we have soul contracts with. These are the people we want to be surrounded by. The people that help us grow the most. The people that help bring us back into union with our true self in the most potent way. And so that's what this person is to me. I've talked about it on this channel before, and it's been this interesting relationship in that the divine will lead us together. We'll do a lot of work, like rubbing up against each other like sandpaper. Lots of stuff falls off, lots of ego death, lots of incineration and burning and pain, but also incredible amounts of love and passion. And then it's like our psyches and our egoic constructs, or our humans need a break, and so life will give us space from each other. And we'll go off and learn our lessons with either other people or just however that looks. And then, just like out of seemingly nowhere, it's like a lot of space is cleared, and the divine is like, okay, they're ready to come back together and do more work. And that's what this retreat really brought forward. One of the things. And just noticing like the ego resistance I've had to allowing that to happen. Because this connection really scares the ego for obvious reasons. It's like, it's not for the ego. Your twin flame relationships, they don't They're not for your ego. They don't give your ego anything. It's like your ego doesn't get anything from them. It's like quite the contrary. Quite the contrary. These relationships actually burn up your ego. They actually gobble up and dissolve your ego. And so that's why there's so much egoic resistance when it comes to surrendering into them. And that's why, you hear common stories about this, that people just running away from these really karmic connections. And you don't even have to call it a twin flame connection. I've had lots of very karmic, fiery connections. And usually one person or another says, I've had enough. I can't take this anymore. And they leave. And that's fair game. And that happens sometimes. And sometimes that's the guided thing to do. Sometimes it's necessary to give the ego a break from these very intense, loving yet fiery connections. And so with this connection that I'm speaking about, it just seems like we have this willingness to like meet the fear, meet the resistance, and to come back together for something bigger than our egos. Because if we just listen to our minds and our egos and our rational minds and our analytical minds, we would certainly not sign up for this again. And it's interesting how I was trying to listen to that part of me, and I was trying to like formulate a plan to not allow this to happen. But like I've said in other videos, the divine just has her way with us, and this is like a divine connection that I feel like has been cultivated over many lifetimes. So my egoic resistance, her egoic resistance, it seems just doesn't really stand a chance. And so yeah, it's like knowing that these connections are really powerful and they're really difficult and challenging, and that we surrender into them from a place that's much greater than ego and egoic desire. It's like initially our ego might get really excited about it and think it's going to get everything it always wanted. And that's a little trick the divine, you could say it's a trick the divine plays on us. Because it's actually, these relationships are actually where our ego goes to die. And let me give you an example. Last night, like through this whole retreat, we've been having incredible connection in between. When the whole group's meeting, we would meet and have these just beautiful back and forths, just connecting at such depth with so much love for one another, and just feeling so much divinity working through us in the container of our relationship. And so last night I was just sharing my heart, and something was coming up for her where she said, I'm feeling doubt about this, about you, about all of these circumstances, and she was maybe feeling fear. And my initial response was, that's beautiful, and I wanted to hold space for that, and I wanted to be there for her in that way. But of course, because it's a twin flame connection and the love goes so deep and it's so strong, and you feel so vulnerable in these connections, because a twin flame can hurt you worse than anyone else, as you guys probably know. It's like the pain from a twin flame connection is just on a whole nother level, whether there's some rejection or it's like any of those types of things in a relationship. It's just like a twin flame, it just takes it to another level. And so there's even more insecurity about it, there's even more fear about it, of like, what's gonna happen? It's like even harder to open to these connections. So I was feeling myself opening really deeply and like really falling into alignment with what I felt the divine was asking me to do, which is really just commit to this in the sense of just surrendering into it and giving myself to it because of all the growth opportunities, and because it's doing it for something bigger than myself and my, like I said, egoic desires of like always being safe and in control and feeling great and all of these things, right? Having to just surrender all of that. So I was really there, and I was just really feeling the certainty and the inevitability about our connection and how the divine was bringing us back. And then of course, this is right when she was starting to feel doubt, right when I was surrendering into it, like finally letting go of the resistance, and then it's just like brought a lot of hers up. And so like I said, initially I was like really not triggered by it, but because it is the twin flame connection, over time I started to feel like a lot of stuff coming up. And then I started to feel rage and fear and insecurity, and then I started noticing I was doing the avoidant thing, like, okay, well, now I need a break from this. And I was watching myself type this, and I was saying, this isn't true. You're just doing this to try to control the situation, to try to kind of get what you need from her. You know, this is coming from a wound. But it was like I was living out and experiencing out like an old karmic pattern of mine in relationship, in deep romantic relationship. Like I've got to, you know, manipulate and control to get what I need to be safe and all that stuff. And I just noticed myself doing that, and how my heart was shutting down to her, how I just wasn't able to be vulnerable and just tell her the truth, like, wow, your confusion and doubt is really hurting me. It's like without making her wrong for it, you know, and just how that vulnerability, it just wasn't quite accessible yet. And I was just so scared, and like how my heart shut down, and I sent that message of like, this is just like completely dead to me now, and I need space from this, and I need a break from this, like that old pattern. And right when I was typing it, I knew, I was like, oh, you're so silly. You're gonna talk to her again tomorrow. And it was interesting, that night, that happened last night, and all night I couldn't sleep, and my heart was just like, I couldn't even barely breathe. My heart was so tight, and I just felt so cut off from life and the divine flow and the energies of the retreat, all that grace. It's like it was like I was strangling myself, because I just was too fearful to be vulnerable and open, because I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to seem weak and unattractive and all of these old kind of toxic masculine programming things. And it was just interesting to like how this connection pulled those all up for me to see so clearly about myself and how I act in those ways still, but how they're dissolving and falling away, because I could barely, it's like, even as I was sending that message, I was seeing it wasn't true. And then just how in this morning's meditation, it's like the light was saying, you got to open your heart. It's so much better, the light was telling me, it's so much better to live with an open heart and be completely devastated over and over again than to shut down and go into avoidant behavior and try to manipulate and control. It's like, that is a hell realm. But if you live with an open heart, and even if you get rejected and you're willing to feel the pain of the rejection, or someone not loving you back at the way you love them, it's like, that is where God is. That's the kind of life I want. And I realized that in this morning's last session of the retreat. I realized that's the life I want. I want to live a life with an open heart, and whatever comes is fine. I'll handle it. I'll feel through it. And it's okay. And so of course I reached out to her, and we kind of shared a laugh, like we both knew it wasn't true. We both knew we'd be talking today, and we just both, you know, just a lot of compassion there and understanding. And that's what the twin flame container and these connections are all about. It's about bringing those parts of ourselves up and giving them presence and awareness and bringing them into the light to be seen. And yeah, it just felt really good to be vulnerable and to open my heart back up and to tell her the truth, you know, like, dang, I'm really committed, and I'm really in love with you now. And I got really scared, so I shut down and went into this old avoidant pattern of mine, and just obviously forgiving myself too. And it's like, this is what it's about. They get a little messy like this. This is how the twin flame journey liberates us from our karma. It's like we act our karma out with another, and we see ourselves doing it, and we say, whoa, that's not me. That's not the truth. And so yeah, that's what this retreat really brought forward, and what's alive in my system and my body and my heart right now. Just a deeper commitment to living with an open heart, a deeper commitment to living in alignment with truth, even if it scares my ego, or my ego has resistance to it, or it's not what my ego quote unquote wants. Just a deeper laying down my life to the divine, and ultimately a deeper allowing the divine to live through me, to work through me, and to heal through me. And so I hope that this video helps you guys. If you want to support this work, leaving a donation is a great way to do it. Also, joining the Patreon page is a wonderful way to help give me this kind of like steady paycheck. I don't know, it just feels really good to have that platform, and I feel guided that I'm gonna like to start posting more like personal content there, like kind of vloggy stuff, you know, just like, I don't know, if you guys are kind of into that, like take you to like whatever, the grocery store, maybe road trip stuff, just little things like that, that not necessarily where I'm sitting here and just opening and like bringing through a channeled message, but just the personality kind of stuff, you know, the real human stuff. And I know my message is very human, very grounded. But yeah, just some extra bonus content stuff if you're into that. Other than that, it's so lovely to connect with you all. Oh, there's also a link for one-on-one sessions. It feels that I'll be in a more of like a steady place soon as far as just not traveling all the time. Who knows, but it feels that way. So I'll be opening up more time for sessions. So if that is something that calls to you, I would really love to connect with you about anything, twin flame, Kundalini, awakening, anything and everything that you want to bring forward is welcome. But other than that, so much love to you all. I will see you in the next video. Namaste.